As a pregnant woman with a high fever of 104 degrees Fahrenheit, my mother-in-law Heather made me go 25 kilometers to buy a case of bottled beer.
And don't be late for the family gathering, got it?
Days later, I told the pale-faced Heather he's not coming back. I turned 30 this year. I graduated from nursing school and started working as a nurse. In my third year, I married my childhood friend, but we divorced 5 years later. The reason was his repeated infidelity. My ex-husband's family was wealthy, and his father was a prominent figure in town. They insisted on keeping the shameful fact of divorce due to their son's infidelity a secret. And due to their wishes, I received an unusually large alimony for such a short marriage. I was deeply depressed when I found out about his affair, but after the divorce, every day felt light and free. After the divorce, I decided to refresh myself and quit my job as a nurse. Though not every month, I often traveled abroad. One day, as I was enjoying a luxurious flight in first class, 2 hours away from my destination, there was an announcement. A passenger had fallen ill, and they were looking for a doctor or nurse. I could have pretended not to hear it, but I knew it would weigh on me later, so I spoke to the flight attendant nearby. I'm a licensed nurse, but without a doctor's orders, I can't perform any medical procedures. Can you look for a doctor as well? The flight attendant led me to the sick passenger and soon after brought a man with a medical license. The passenger, a man in his 30s, sat conscious, but sweating profusely. Are you okay? What seems to be the problem?
It's excruciating pain in my stomach.
Can you tell me your name and age?
I'm Henry James, 32.
While the doctor examined him, I asked the flight attendant for the onboard medical kit. The doctor and I did our parts, and soon the emergency treatment was complete. About 30 minutes later, Henry looked more relaxed, the pain easing.
It's likely just gastritis. He seems better now.
I'll return to my seat. I asked the flight attendant. He should be fine, but can you arrange for him to see a doctor at the airport just in case?
Understood.
I told Henry, make sure to go to the hospital after we land. I've arranged it.
Thank you so much. I feel much better now. I need to thank that doctor later.
Have you had this pain before?
Occasionally. I always think I should see a doctor, but can't find the time.
Many people put it off and regret it later. Henry smiled weakly and nodded. I'll go to the hospital with you, I said, and Henry looked relieved. We were fast-tracked through immigration and headed straight to the hospital where Henry was examined. After the examination, Henry held his prescription and said,
I have to come back for more tests tomorrow, but I can go alone. I got my prescription, so I'll go buy the medicine.
For some reason, it felt sad to part with Henry there. Where are you staying? I asked. He named a hotel, surprisingly the same one I was staying at. Oh, the same hotel? If so, why don't we have dinner at the hotel restaurant?
I'd love to, but the doctor said to only eat soft foods for the next 3 days. But how about a smoothie? It won't be heavy on my stomach.
Yes, let's do that. I'd feel lonely saying goodbye now. Henry smiled brightly, his white teeth shining. We took a taxi back to the hotel. In the taxi, I asked, do you come here often?
Yes, about once a month for work.
Oh, you must be busy.
Yes, work is stressful. I think that's what triggered this episode. Take care of yourself. By the way, can I know your name?
I smiled. I'm Emma Hunter.
Thanks, Emma. Do you mind if I call you that?
I like that.
So, Emma, what do you do?
I'm currently unemployed. Most people are surprised when I say this, and Henry was no exception. I didn't mind sharing with someone I just met while traveling. Actually, I'm living off alimony for now, but I plan to start working again soon.
Really? I was once divorced too. Let's stay friends.
I felt an inexplicable certainty that Henry wouldn't betray me. Henry asked me about my hobbies. I love traveling abroad, I answered after thinking for a moment.
How often do you travel?
Well, last month was Indonesia, and the month before that was Italy. I don't go every month, but quite frequently.
That's a lot. I can expense my trips, but how do you afford it on personal trips?
I want to go while I can. What are your hobbies?
Work is half my hobby, but I'm also a YouTuber. I share different cultures and customs between business trips. Check it out if you have time.
Henry wrote down his channel name and handed it to me. I will, I said, and Henry smiled warmly again. We promised to meet in Japan and went to our rooms. After a week's vacation, I returned home. Since my divorce, I had been living with my mother. Our house was old and small, and I'd often told her, Mom, let me buy us a fancy apartment with a view.
Thank you, Emma, but I'm happy here. You should live there if you want.
I couldn't do that. I'd worry about you.
Don't treat me like an old lady. I'm still spry.
I laughed with her. I know, you're strong, but someday you might need more support. So, think about it, okay?
Okay, I get it, Emma.
The next day was Saturday and my phone rang just after 8 a.m. I answered, wondering who it could be so early, and immediately recognized Henry's voice.
Good morning. Sorry for the early call.
What's up?
I had that endoscopy yesterday. I've been dodging it for ages, but it wasn't as bad as I feared.
And the results?
My stomach is inflamed, but no cancer cells were found.
Henry's voice sounded genuinely happy, and I was relieved.
I wanted to thank you and ask if you'd like to have lunch today.
I had plans with a friend, but found myself saying, sure, I'd love to. Henry picked me up in his white car at 11 a.m.
Where would you like to go?
Somewhere with beautiful mountains and clear rivers.
That's quite far, but let's do it. I don't work tomorrow.
Now? Are you serious?
You suggested it.
He laughed and started driving. We took breaks and meals along the way, so we arrived as night fell.
It's late. Why don't we stay somewhere nearby and visit in the morning?
Yes, that sounds good. We found a vacant room and spent the night. The next morning we left early and took a bus to the destination. The scenery that unfolded before us was breathtaking, like a picture out of a painting. We took photos on the bridge with beautiful mountains in the background and even asked strangers to take pictures of us together. What a beautiful place, I said.
It really is.
At that moment, I realized I was falling for him, and so our official relationship began. Official only meant we started meeting frequently. 2 months into dating, Harry said to me,
Emma, would you come meet my mother? I want you to meet her. You know what I'm implying, right?
I was nervous about meeting his mother because of my insecurities about being bi. Sensing my hesitation, Henry reassured me.
Don't worry, Emma.
His words put me at ease. The following Sunday, I visited Henry's home. His mother, Heather, greeted me warmly at the door.
Welcome, Emma. Henry has told me so much about you.
Oh, thank you for having me, I said, greeting politely.
Come in, please.
I felt relieved by her gentle demeanor. We spent a pleasant day at Henry's house. His mother was welcoming, and Henry seemed genuinely happy.
Mom, Emma and I are planning to get married. And before you react, I just want you to know that she's bi, just like me.
His mother's face tensed for a moment, but quickly softened into a smile.
I see. Take care of each other.
We had dinner together, and Henry walked me home later that night.
Next time, I'll come meet your mom.
The following Sunday, Henry visited my house and told my mother, I'd like to marry Emma. Please give us our blessing.
She's a bit headstrong, but take good care of her.
My mother accepted him easily. 3 months later, we were married. Because we were both divorced before, we kept the wedding ceremony simple and private. We moved into an annex on Henry's family property. Henry continued to travel abroad for work about once a month. I wanted to join him, but he refused, saying, if the company finds out, I could get fired. I decided to take small trips of my own instead.
Why don't you help my mother around the house instead of thinking about trips?
Henry suggested with a frown. His request was reasonable, so I agreed. When Henry left for a trip, I stayed in the annex watching daytime TV and having lunch. One day, my mother-in-law came by.
Emma, are you still watching TV and eating? Can you help clean the main house? My back hurts too much to do it.
Yes, I'll come after lunch, I said. Her expression darkened.
Why not now? Are you planning to laze around all day?
I quickly apologized, stuffed the rest of my lunch in my mouth, and got up. I'm sorry, I'll start now.
See? That's all you had to say.
She muttered audibly as I started cleaning. She watched me from behind a corner as I worked. 3 days later, when Henry returned from his trip, I told him about the incident.
Well, if you were lounging around watching TV, of course she'd say something. You need to help her more.
I felt that Henry's pre-marriage kindness was fading. 3 months into our marriage, I got a call from my mother-in-law. Her voice was loud enough to make my eardrum feel like it would burst.
Emma, what is this?
What do you mean? I asked, confused.
Don't ask questions, just come here now.
I went to the main house, where she was holding a white sweater.
Look at this. This happened because you carelessly washed it with other colored clothes. Now the color's transferred.
I inspected the sweater. The color transfer was barely noticeable. You're right, I'm sorry, but it's so light that no one will notice. Her face turned bright red.
How dare you say that? This was a gift from Henry's first wife for my birthday, and I loved it.
I felt like I had heard something I shouldn't have. Clearly, she had been close with Henry's ex-wife. If it's that important, you should have taken it to the dry cleaners. My comment only made her more furious.
You're not like the previous wife. She'd never say that.
I'm sorry, I said, forcing myself to bow.
I told Henry not to marry someone like you. I didn't want a bi-woman as my daughter-in-law. I bet your last divorce was because of your infidelity.
That's not true, I said, tears filling my eyes. I realized there was no point in arguing and went back to the annex, sobbing. That night Henry came home, but his expression was different than usual.
I heard from Mom that you said something harsh to her.
It seemed that my mother-in-law had told Henry a version of events that suited her. I didn't say anything wrong, I replied.
She's an old woman, Emma. Just agree with her, even if she says something annoying. Why argue?
But she said she preferred your ex-wife. Henry's face changed momentarily, but he still defended his mother.
Just don't argue with her, okay?
I stayed silent, unable to say anything more. That night, Henry left to sleep in the main house and didn't come back to the annex. Next morning, he returned as if nothing had happened. He ate breakfast and left for work. I started to think that maybe this marriage was a mistake, but I didn't want another divorce. I was determined to make it work somehow. From that day, I tried to avoid any conflict and rarely spoke to my mother-in-law. She also kept her distance. About a month later, I felt unusually tired and nauseous. I decided to visit the local OBGYN. As I suspected, I was pregnant. I thought maybe telling Henry about the pregnancy would bring back the caring side of him. That night, I told him the news. Henry, I have something to tell you. The doctor congratulated me today. We're going to have a baby. Instead of joy, Henry's face twisted as if he had bitten into something sour.
Oh, is it a boy?
It's too early to know that, Henry muttered like someone from an old era who only wanted a son.
And this child is definitely mine, right?
I was stunned by his doubt and started to cry. Henry didn't offer comfort and said coldly,
I like a DNA test done just to be sure.
Why? Is that what you really think of me? You know I haven't traveled abroad since we got married. Tears flowed uncontrollably as I realized how unwelcome our child was to him. I felt crushed both by Henry's lack of trust and the constant tension with my mother-in-law. I started thinking seriously about divorce again. I quietly prepared a filled-out divorce application just in case. August came, and with it, the holidays. This was when Henry's mother's relatives came to visit, and I was expected to help with all the preparations. Heather was relentless in giving me chores, especially during these few days. On the day of the family gathering, I felt terribly ill and dizzy. I checked my temperature. It was 104 degrees Fahrenheit. I managed to do some cleaning, laundry, and food prep, but my body was too weak to keep going. Heather, may I rest in the annex for a while? I have 104 degrees Fahrenheit fever. She glared at me.
You're sick because you don't take care of yourself. Rest if you must, but come back when the guests arrive.
I nodded weakly and collapsed onto my bed, falling asleep instantly. Soon I was woken by her yelling right by my ear.
How long do you plan on sleeping, you lazy daughter-in-law?
I stumbled after her to the main house. Some of the relatives had already arrived and were drinking beer. Trying to keep my balance, I greeted them, but Heather barked at me again.
Emma, go buy a case of bottled beer. The 55-pound one.
One of the relatives noticed I was swaying and offered to help.
I haven't started drinking yet. I can go get it. It's heavy for a woman, especially someone who looks unwell.
Pouring him a drink, she laughed.
Oh, no need to spoil her. She only thinks about herself and having fun.
The relatives exchanged glances and awkwardly slipped their beers. I'll go get it, I said, stumbling out to the nearby liquor store. I ordered the heavy 55-pound case of bottled beer, and the store owner looked at me with concern.
You look pale. You sure you're okay?
I'm fine. I'll carry it home, I said weakly.
No, you're pregnant, right? I can't let you carry that. I'll take it in my truck.
He loaded the beer and drove me home. When I returned, Heather said,
You're back already? Did you have the store deliver it? What a lazy woman.
I'm sorry. Just then Henry came home from work and, after changing in the annex, walked into the main house.
You look terrible. If you're sick, don't spread it. Go back to the annex. You're useless,
he muttered.
Yeah, just go. We don't need anyone spoiling the mood.
Understood, I said, retreating to the annex as they continued to mock me. As I lay on the bed trying to rest, I heard my phone vibrating on silent mode. I looked around and saw Henry's phone on the bedside table, vibrating as well. Out of habit, my eyes caught the screen as a new message preview appeared. It was from a woman named Laura. "Thank you for today, I had a great time." I hadn't meant to see it, but the preview revealed enough to confirm my suspicions. Strangely, I felt a rush of relief. Now I had a concrete reason to bring up divorce. Henry spent more nights in the main house and didn't come back to the annex that night or the next. My mother-in-law seemed thrilled to have her son nearby and didn't care about the state of our marriage. 2 days later, Henry returned to the annex, rummaging around as if searching for something.
Weird. Where did it go?
"What are you looking for?" I asked nonchalantly.
My phone. I thought it was with me, but it's not at the office either.
"It's right here," I said calmly, holding up his phone along with the divorce papers. Henry's expression turned from confusion to shock as he noticed the papers.
What's that? A divorce paper?
"Yes, I wasn't planning to become a single mother, but here we are." His eyes darted between the phone and the papers.
Wait, did you read my messages?
"No, but the preview showed enough." "Who? It's Laura." Henry hesitated, then stammered.
You had no right to look at my phone.
"I didn't mean to see it. You left it out, and I just picked it up. So who is she?" Henry fell silent, unable to answer. "I'm done, Henry. I'll be taking the alimony and child support, or we can do this another way."
Wait, no. I can't afford to pay anymore. I'm still paying alimony to my ex-wife. Please, no child support.
"Then have Laura help you pay," I said half sarcastically.
I can't ask her. She doesn't know I'm married.
I took a breath and proposed. "If you agree to sell this property and give me the proceeds, I'll waive the alimony and support." Henry's face went pale.
Wait, this house and land belongs to my mother. We can't sell it.
"Then go ask her to help. If not, I'll be involving a lawyer and you'll pay what you owe." Henry looked defeated.
If we sell this house, where will we live?
That's not my problem. You said you couldn't pay. This is your choice." My determination was clear. I knew the blame lay with both Henry and his mother, so I didn't mind taking from either. The next morning, Henry was gone. On the bedside table, I found the divorce papers with his signature and a hastily scrawled note. "Don't look for me." Even with Henry gone, I didn't care. In the main house, my mother-in-law was eating rice crackers as if nothing had happened. Days passed without Henry returning, and my mother-in-law started to panic. She came to the annex, looking frantic.
"Emma, have you seen Henry? He hasn't been home in days. What's going on?"
"Oh, he's not coming back," I said cruelly.
"Don't say things like that. Where did he go?"
Probably to that woman," I said with a faint smile.
"What? No, that's not possible. Is it?"
Her face fell as realization dawned. I recalled her accusations that my previous divorce was due to my infidelity. Now I knew she was projecting her son's behavior. Henry left because he couldn't face the consequences. I asked for alimony and child support, or for this house to be sold.
"Why would you stay here if you're divorced? This is Henry's house too."
"Not anymore. He left to avoid paying, and now I need compensation. That means selling this property."
"Why should I pay you anything?"
"Because your behavior was part of the reason for this divorce." Her expression faltered as she remembered all the ways she had treated me poorly. "I'll sell the house if that's what it takes," I said, cornering her with a smile. It's for Henry, after all. Reluctantly, she handed over the title deed. The house sold quickly to a young couple eager for an old-style home. A month later, I left with my mother-in-law heading in opposite directions. She walked away dejected, while I felt immense relief. On my way to file the divorce papers, I felt free for the first time. After leaving the annex, I stayed at my parents' house and relaxed for a while. I started looking for a barrier-free apartment, thinking of my future with the baby.
You're still talking about that apartment, huh? I thought you wanted a fancy one.
I did, but I need to think realistically. A baby changes everything. Besides, a luxury apartment would mean no more international trips. We laughed as I rubbed my growing belly. "Let's find a practical place where we can all live comfortably," I said.
You just want me to help with childcare, don't you?
She teased. "You got me." We talked about traveling together once the baby was a bit older. A few months later, I heard unexpected news from the liquor store owner who once helped me.
Hey, your ex-husband's in rough shape. I saw him living in an old wooden apartment now. Quite a fall from that big house.
He explained that Henry's company had faced financial difficulties due to global events, and his misconduct was discovered. Henry had faked receipts for expenses during his international trips. He was fired, had to pay restitution, and still owed alimony to his first wife.
He's back with his mom, but that woman he was seeing? Gone. No one's heard of her.
I chuckled, remembering Henry's words the night I had a fever. Life had come full circle. Funny how things turn out, isn't it? I said, laughing with the store owner.